A mysterious helicopter crash in northern Iraq a few weeks ago is adding the latest sore point between Turkiye and its southern neighbor. The Turkish Foreign Ministry announced it was closing its airspace for flights to and from Sulaymaniyah airport in northern Iraq, citing intensified activities in the region by the PKK terror group. The decision came after 2 helicopters crashed in Dohuk, killing all those on board. But what alarmed Turkey was the aircraft had been carrying PKK-linked terrorists from Syria. The incident fueled claims by Ankara that the PKK was in possession of helicopters and that it had infiltrated Sulaimaniyah airport. The helicopter's routes also raised eyebrows as it used an irregular flight plan to reach Sulaimaniyah airport from the YPG-controlled city of Al-Hasaka in northern Syria. The closure follows a similar ban placed back in 2017 after Turkey criticized continued PKK activities in the area. Ankara has launched several operations against the PKK and its affiliates in recent years, including Operation Close Sword in northern Syria and Iraq. To further discuss the closing of Sulaymaniyah Airport, joining me now from Washington, D.C. is Outzen. He is a former US diplomat. And from Ankara, Ahmet Uysal is the director of the Center for Middle Eastern Studies. A warm welcome to you both, and thanks for joining me on Straight Talk. So, Ahmet, could you walk us through what has been happening between Turkey and Iraq, especially northern Iraq?
Iraq, northern Iraq became a hub for the PKK activities, and Turkey, of course, is not happy with that and will keep warning them not to cooperate with the PKK and also accommodate the PKK in this region, but especially the Sulaimaniyah part of the KRG. They, in cooperation with Iran, of course, they keep allowing the PKK to use their territories, their activities, collect money, and also instigate some terroristic activities there. Also keep a lot of propaganda against Turkey. And we realized how much they are using the region. And after the downing of helicopters belonging to the PKK, caused a big surprise and big reaction from Turkey and from the international community. So this way we realize that Sulaimaniyah is acting against Turkey, and Turkey want to also show some teeth that they need Turkey for international trade,
yes,
travel, and other things. So Turkey also replied by banning the flights from Sulaimaniyah.
Yes, Rich. Yes. So Turkey has closed its airspace to planes taking off and landing in Iraq's northern city of Sulaimaniyah, citing security concerns. So what's the situation there? And how serious is the PKK threat currently, especially from northern Iraq nowadays?
Well, the PKK maintains its fighting forces near the Turkish border in the Gara Mountains and sort of the whole arc from Kandil Mountains out to Syria. And the Turkish military and security services have done a pretty good job of keeping them pinned down, of using drone strikes, intelligence, and limited ground forces to make life very difficult for the direct military threat. I think what we see happening in Suli, in a sense, is more of a political threat, in that the KDP, the Kurdistan Democratic Party, with which Turkey is on very good terms, they're the dominant party in Erbil. They have great trade relations with Turkiye, and they essentially understand Turkiye's security concerns. They are locked in a power struggle with the PUK, which is in Sulaymaniyah, which is much closer to Iran and has long been sympathetic to the PKK. So by seeing this link develop, whereby the Syrian Democratic Forces, which in theory should be operating in Syria, we see their PKK-linked senior people flying through this helicopter route to Suli, not to Erbil, and then meeting with Americans or meeting with others in Suli in an environment in which, frankly, Iranian influence is very high. We see that this is a new dynamic in a power struggle, not only between PUK and KDP, but between PKK and PUK and Iran on one side and the KRG in Erbil on the other. The U.S. has a very confused stance on this because we are close with Erbil, and yet at the same time, we're doing some things that are supporting a threat to Erbil coming from Suli, because it's not just that the PUK is politically against Erbil and against the KDP. They've conducted sort of quasi-military operations. There was an assassination in Erbil that was attributed to PKK-linked forces. The Iranians have rocketed people in the KRG's Erbil portion, and the PKK has gotten into gunfights with Peshmerga from the KDP. So we're taking sides in a sense, or we're seeing sides be taken when the PUK and the Suli airport became a hub. And of course, Erbil is very worried about this.
So, Ahmet, if no one claims ownership to these helicopters that crashed in northern Iraq, who did these helicopters belong to? I mean, how were the PKK able to get a hold of those helicopters?
Unfortunately, there are many foreign governments like Iran, America, France, and some other European countries are cooperating with the PKK. They like to, weaken the region, Turkey and other countries, and especially like with the funding. And both Iran and America, I think they like to see the PKK ruling the northern Iraq, and they are allowing them, they are helping them, and also, I mean, technically they say it was belonging to the Paul Talabani, which is also the PUK area and one of the leaders there. But this is more like international operation against Turkey and in favor of the PKK. Unfortunately, they operate there, freely with the American and Iranian maybe protection. So this is a threat for not only for Turkey, for Iraq also, and also for the Kurds, because the PKK became a proxy for those who pay for them, and at the end, this is gonna be kind of a coup, and also the social base with their propaganda TV channels that are provided with a lot of sources. Yes. From collecting aid from European countries, also a lot of smuggling and drug dealing and all other activities, get them revenues to operate, also maybe gain some social base in northern Iraq, yes, which is a threat to the future of the region also. Yes.
So, Rich, the U.S. has denied allegations that it had provided the YPG with helicopters or that it has given the terror group flight training. Is this really the case? And I mean, how involved in the U.S. Is the U.S. in so-called anti-terror operations against the terror organization Daesh in the region?
Well, as to the first part, the helicopters, as I understand, were found at the site where the two crashed together over northern Iraq were Eurocopters, which is not a type of equipment that the U.S. has in its inventory. I believe the U.S. when it says it has not provided flight training or helicopters to SDF or YPG, or as we see at PKK. However, it's possible that there is a corporate entity. These could be helicopters that are being operated by corporate pilots or by a small corporation that is hired by an intelligence agency. That could be anybody, literally. There could be Russians, Iranians, Americans, Europeans. It's really hard to trace at that level. I think it's most likely that these were contractors flying them over, and it's hard to speculate as to who they are. With regards to U.S. counterterror operations, look, it is an unfortunate but true fact that Daesh does retain some residual capabilities both in Syria and Iraq. So the question is not whether there's still a threat that needs to be addressed through counterterrorism measures. The question is one of strategy. Do you use a group that has palpable terrorism ties and a pedigree steeped in terror organization itself as your bulwark against terrorism, or do you work with state authorities in Iraq and Turkiye, and frankly, for the United States, working more closely with its allies, especially in Ankara and Erbil, should be the sort of the touchstone of good strategy, rather than persisting in the use of sub-state actors that have a very checkered background at best and are terror affiliates at worst.
All right, Ahmet and Rich, unfortunately, we'll have to leave it here. Thank you very much for joining me.